similar to that of paganism because it branched off from it. Yeah. This is my part 2. Because I caught myself in my own bullshit. How's this for a starter of a video? Okay, so I am wondering what the hell people were smoking. I went off and my name was mentioned. You gotta love Facebook. Someone calls, mentions your name and you're there. It's a post apparently. The post was, okay, as pagans, do you all follow the pagan creed? If it harm none, do what you will. If it not there, a guideline, if not, is there a guideline you do follow? Now, here's the oxymoron. This is, when people talk stupid, in public, you just want to go, because maybe you would smack some sense into them, and they would not be so stupid. What I realized is I'd be all day with some people. If you follow a pagan creed, I'm picking this message apart for one reason. I want to understand what's being said. Okay. A system of Christian or other religious beliefs. A formal statement of Christian beliefs. I'm going through the internet definition of what creed means. A brief, authoritative, formal of religious belief. Okay. This is where the original poster fucked up. So, get ready. Paganism. I was approached a while back. I went off and I bought a welder from a guy about 3 weeks ago. And he's liquidating everything. He's going to another country to meet up and live with his girlfriend. He used to be a professor of theology. So once he kind of broke the ice, what he knew, I let him know that old hat. So he asked me, okay, what's the difference between paganism and witchcraft? And I told him, paganism is an earth-based religion. So was witchcraft in its origins. The difference was when they branched away, Wicca or witchcraft became deity-orientated rather than polytheistic, meaning many energies or many symbologies of energy around you. So being earth-based religion stayed earth-based, became more pagan, where your witches became deistic. What I mean by deistic, or theistic, I should say. I'm sorry, theistic, but with deities. Isis, Dianic, that kind of thing. But if you look at the word creed, it also means a brief, authoritative formula of religious belief. So if you get like Laurie Cabot, she has her structure. You have a lot of other head religions out there that are structured, like Gardnerian and what have you. Buckland, Alexandrian. All of them are particular paradigms with structure. Paganism, I almost dare say, parallels to occultism. Meaning, occultists, people just practice and understand many different belief systems, many different magics, many different standpoints, atheistic, deistic, or theistic. They're the people who encompass all of it to benefit themselves and the surrounding area around them and all that fluffy stuff. But the thing is, when a person is contradicting the very essence of a descriptive of a earth-based religion, a multi-deistic type, where you have earth-based religions, the moon, tree energy, if you want to talk about druids or what have you, or if you want to talk about candle magic, herbs, all these other things. Even though today's witches practice it, it all stems from the main origins, the focal point of paganism. Now, where I fucked up in the previous video I made was I mentioned that today's pagans, true pagans, are any native people, Native Americans, for instance. You know, you still have your Apaches or Navajo, okay, any of those type of people, and if they practice their beliefs in the traditions, they're your real pagans. Now, where I fucked up on this is because if you go to European countries, they all in turn say, well, hey, we got our, you know, Ireland or England, oh, we're pagans too. Yeah, but you're not a sovereign citizen. Natives are. They kept it real. They said, fuck you, I'm going to go and do my thing. And they've done it, and they still do it today. Their traditions now, or is that from 5,000 years ago? That can be for real. Not some, we'll do a traditional family thing. To me, it loses its thing when, it loses its scope when you're part of a conquering society. How much of it is truly traditional versus the influence of Roman Empire, or any other counterculture that came by and said, you're going to follow our beliefs now. You know, that's why, like, say, with voodoo or Santeria, they use Catholic saints, because those Catholic saints were actually nothing more than a rearranged name for their actual deity. They kept it real, but they had to disguise it. Get me so far? So when you have somebody who writes down a contradictory term, okay, pagans, do you follow the pagan creed, a structure, and a phraseology that parallels the Crowley? You know, is it there as a guideline, or do you follow? You know, if not, is there a guideline you do follow? So the person does not know what a creed means versus a guideline. It's like saying, are you, you know, are you a spiritual Christian, or do you follow a particular, you know, no, what is it? Are you a good Catholic, or you just follow a spiritual guideline for Christianity, that kind of thing? And that's what the question kind of surmounts to. Are you following a particular paradigm? Paganism is not a paradigm. Paganism is many different things. There's not one true pagan church that I can see. Hear me out. And SatanService.org is about over 300 organized and registered satanic churches. They're all in their own paradigm. Witchcraft. Again, I mentioned Laurie Cabot. I mentioned all, you know, all these other people out there. They are their own paradigm. Garnerian, Gardner, you have Alexander. All of them have their own particular set of what they're doing. Pagans. Show me. Educate me as I give you my opinion. Because so far, there's the only thing that is organized about paganism I notice is the world's largest pagan, I think it was like not bread truck, but like they feed the homeless. So, and because they make a big thing about feeding the homeless and being pagan, they get recognition. Pagan pride. It's organized, but it's not a set paradigm. Get me so far? In a nutshell, today's pagans would surmount to today's occultists, people who practice and encompass many different things. But the origin of the word and culture of pagans come from many different timelines, and they come from many different cultures. So, if you want to surmise it further with paganism, you'll have people who fought, like say, you have the Celts, and they go and they fight Rome. Well, the birth of Dianic Wicca came from that, because they had a female chieftain who didn't take shit from Rome. And they named her, or the group of people, Dianics, because it was a Roman goddess that she reminded them of. And that was one of the origins of Dianic Wicca that I remember from reading way back when. So, that's one. But you have Strega, which is Italian. So those two are culturally not going to be the same, right? Now, mind you, this is all witches, but it all stemmed from pagans too, because paganism was the origin until they found something of a a structured paradigm. But that's the funny thing. You know, it's kind of one and the same, but they're totally two different animals. It's kind of like a wolf and a domestic dog. Your domestic dog will be your witch. Take it for what it is. And your pagan will be your wolf. Your wolf remained the wolf. Domestic dog stemmed from the wolf, but has evolved and changed. Today's wolf still looks like a wolf many years ago. Today's dog, you have a pug, and you can have a German Shepherd. You have a Chihuahua, and you have a Dachshund. You have a Greyhound, and you have a Mini Pin. You get what I'm saying? They're all canines, but they're not all the same. But the wolf, they may be a little bit different bloodlines, but timber wolves, or wolves in general, gray wolf, are going to be still a wolf. That's my analogy about pagans and witchcraft and all the above. So the original post may had a consensus in her mind as to what she wanted to write down. To me, was not thought through, or does not know what she's talking about. Another thing is, if harm none, do thy will. While I'm filming this, while I'm talking to you guys about this, I am highlighting it, I am copying it. I am now going to search for it. Okay. I have looked up, I Googled. You know, see, you don't have to be smart, you just have to be resourceful. It's called Wiccan Read. And in it, harm none, do ye will is from witchcraft, not paganism. See, already somebody misled you thinking it belonged to paganism when it's witchcraft. And as I explained about witchcraft, it's a later form of paganism that went to deistic or deity worship being theistic. In other words, you had your goddesses. Paganism is earth-based. It's almost polydeistic, meaning multi-energies, force of nature, that kind of thing. Dig it. But that's the problem. You fuckers out there like to get spoon-fed by your fellow man and woman, and they're dumb as shit, and you're going to eat it, and you're going to be dumber. I understand what the fuck's being posted first before you open your goddamn mouths, or your minds, and do some research. Is this poster actually educated? Are they smart? The funny part about this post, too, people are talking about old Crowley, for instance, good old Alistair. They all talked about the notorious stuff. Now, if you had 25 accomplishments in your life, and one or two of them were your shit-stained moments, and people will only bring that up, shows me the limited scope of education of those people. Not many people know about his poetry. I actually have a live recording of him reciting his poems, and even doing his Enochian keys. I also have, what was it? He practiced yoga. He was a mountain climber. The gentleman was well-rounded. I dare say even a Renaissance man. But people want to go off and talk about the origins of Satanism. You know what the origins of Satanism is with Crowley? I'm looking for my book. I think it was called Magic and Theory and Practice. Yeah. One chapter, one page in this book was used in the Satanic Bible. Crowley announced that there was no more gods around. He was the utmost high God. Whether it be his own personal evolution, revelation, whatever it may be, he did his announcement that nothing more powerful in the world than himself. A self-realization of being. Some people call it Kepher, some people call it enlightenment. This was his, and this was actually used from the Book of Magic in Theory and Practice. And that in itself was one of the premises of the Church of Satan, because it also had philosophical beliefs or followings of teachings thereof. Ayn Rand, Mark Twain, Friedrich Nietzsche. So at that point, that's where it kind of ties in, but it's not quintessential. But people want to talk about stupid shit. Another comment was kind of made, I thought was funny. Neo-Satanists have adopted Crowley, but no, he was not a Satanist. Hold on here. It goes further down, I'm trying to see. No, actually, I like Crowley. In fact, he was one of my first studies. And there's about several biography books on him. I've had one that was awesome, and it's shit out. Couldn't find it. And then I bought a couple more. It wasn't the one I was looking for, but I read those too. And interesting. Here's the one I liked. A lot of young Satanists don't really know much about the occult, paganism, or even Satanism, which is true. In fact, why I do these videos, now this is on my Rev.Ronald for You channel, but I have a Trinity of Satan channel as a Satanist, addressing Satanists. So some of you might not understand where I'm coming from if I'm talking on that channel. But on here I try to be more well-rounded because I have a different audience on this channel, if you get my meaning. But you're right. In today's Satanism, or even today's cult world, because it's kind of, I make posts on Satanism on my Facebook, and I got Wiccas, pagans, you name it, saying it's universal all around, which is kind of true. Because if you think about it, during the 80s and 90s, we had a satanic panic. It was still witches on stage defending themselves, were not associated with these people. But because people go after witches, Satanists come up too. It's an unusual relationship because as occultists in general, what happens to you happens to me, and vice versa. So there you have it. But the original poster had demonstrated a complete ignorance of terminology of the English language. Secondly, incredible amount of ignorance on the infamous mislabeled pagan creed, which is not. As I've done my homework, it's in Wicca. So, now where are the bigger dumbasses? Everything that was posted underneath that post, for not looking it up and not understanding what it is that they believe in and how they believe it.